What if a portrait could do more than just capture your likeness? What if it could literally capture you? We're diving into a chilling manuscript found in Salem that completely blurs the line between art, obsession, and the soul itself. So this is where it all begins. Just one single line from a mysterious letter. But wow, what a line. For an artist obsessed with what's really going on behind people's eyes, this is more than just an invitation, right? It's a dare. And it's one that comes with a price he can't even begin to imagine. All right, so let's set the scene. We're in Salem, Massachusetts. The year is 1851. And our main character, a portrait painter named Thaddeus Crane, gets called to this incredibly creepy old house. The manuscript says it's a place where the air itself grows thick with memory, like the walls have just soaked up every life lived inside them. You can just feel that something strange is about to happen here. And once he steps inside, whoa, it gets even weirder. The walls are just covered, floor to ceiling, with hundreds of portraits. But Crane, being an artist, he knows something's off immediately. These aren't just paintings. The eyes, they seem to follow him. It's like they're actually aware, watching. They're not decorations, they're an audience, and they're all waiting for him. So then he meets the owner of the house, this strange, grieving man named Gideon Ashford. And Gideon lays out the job offer. And it is not what Crane was expecting. He doesn't want his own portrait done. He wants Crane to paint a self-portrait. But here's the catch. It has to be a portrait of his soul, the real, unvarnished truth. Basically, before Crane can get the real job, he has to prove he can do this impossible thing. It's not a commission, it's a test. Okay, so this is where things get really wild. This is the core idea of the whole story. Ashford explains what he's been working on for 17 years, ever since his wife died. He calls it the theory of painted souls, and he believes that real art, true portraiture, isn't just about copying a face. He says it's transubstantiation, a literal transfer of a person's consciousness from their body into the painting. This isn't art he's after, it's a kind of spiritual science. And of course, Ashford has a whole process for this. It's not as simple as just sitting for a portrait. No, this is a ritual. First, the person being painted has to consciously, willingly offer themselves to the canvas. They have to let go. Second, the artist has to be able to see beyond the mask, to see their inner truth and paint that. And if they can both do that, well, a piece of that person's actual awareness gets trapped in the paint forever. And to show Crane he's not messing around, Ashford shows him the results of his experiments. This is where you really see the stakes. On the one hand, you've got Thomas Archer, the success story. He managed to transfer his consciousness completely. He basically achieved a kind of immortality inside his portrait. His physical body, it just stopped. But then you have the cautionary tale, Margaret Howell. For her, the transfer was a disaster. It was incomplete. Her consciousness was ripped in half, trapped between her body and the painting. So now her body is just an empty shell in an asylum, while her portrait contains all of her endless, silent screaming. And this isn't just a story Ashford is telling. He shows Crane the proof. He hands him Thomas Archer's actual journal. And in it, Archer describes this totally bizarre feeling, this splitting of his own mind. He wrote, "I was looking at myself, yes, but also I was looking out from that canvas. For a moment, I existed wholly in both places. Can you even imagine that? Being both the viewer and the thing being viewed at the exact same time?" And then, of course, there's the other side of the coin. Ashford describes what happened with Margaret Howell's portrait. He says it screams. Not a sound you can hear with your ears, but anyone who gets near it is hit with this overwhelming wave of pure anguish. It's the psychic scream of a soul trapped between realities. It's an eternal, living nightmare. And that's the risk Crane is about to take. So you'd think after hearing that, Crane would run for the hills, right? Nope. He's an artist. He's drawn to this terrifying idea of capturing ultimate truth. So he agrees. And just like Ashford said it would, the process starts to tear his own soul apart. Day 1, he feels this weird pull from the very first brush stroke. By day 3, he swears the eyes in his own portrait are watching him back. And then, day 5, it happens. A total, terrifying transfer. He's looking out of the canvas, at his own body sitting there in the chair. It worked. He's in 2 places at once. And this brings him to the absolute crisis point of the whole story. His entire sense of self is just shattered. He's left with this impossible question that he can't answer. Who am I now? Am I the flesh and blood man holding the brush, looking at a painting? Or am I the painting, looking back at the flesh? Where does the real Thaddeus Crane actually live? So now he's faced with this impossible choice. He has two selves. There's the embodied self, the one that feels and tastes and lives in the world, but is also doomed to get old and die. And then there's the painted self, the one that's immortal, that will never change, but can only ever observe the world, never touch it. What do you choose? A short, real life, or an eternal, static existence? And it's only then, after Crane has gone through all of this, that Ashford finally reveals his real plan, the whole reason for this experiment. See, he's old, he's sick, his health is failing, and for 17 long years, he has believed his wife's consciousness is alive, perfectly preserved in one of those hundreds of portraits. His life's work wasn't just some abstract theory. It was a desperate search for a way to be with her again. So he asks Crane, the only other person who understands this terrible art, to paint his portrait, to help him die into the painted world so he can finally find his wife. Which leaves us with this one, final, really unsettling thought. The whole story is built on this idea that a true portrait isn't just a picture, it's an eternal witness. It captures the unvarnished truth of a soul that can never lie or look away. So it makes you wonder, right? If an artist could truly paint your soul, past all the masks we wear every day, what would your portrait confess about you?